Ron Callan with you on this Monday night, hour number 2. Dave Hagelin, the commissioner of the Cascade Collegiate Conference, will join us in about 10 minutes. Lots going on in the conference right now. We're going to catch up with him. But right now, let's head north of the Columbia. Bryan Levesque is in charge of GSHL Football.com, an excellent website for high school football fans in Clark County. He joins us here right now. How are you doing?
Doing good, Ron. How's it going?
Well, good. Now, let's go back to last Friday night. What would you say was the top game in the Greater St. Helens League Friday night?
Top game would have been when Skyview hosted Camas at Kagan's Bowl. I mean, we had them ranked. We put out a ranking of the 17 schools to play in the Greater St. Helens League across all levels. We had Camas as the number 1 team, Skyview as the number 2 team, and apparently Skyview wasn't happy with that as they took it to Camas in the second half and ended up winning that one 31-10. But that was a great ball game.
A great ball game. What a great win for the Storm to win by 3 touchdowns. And, Camas was ranked, what, 3rd or 4th in the state of Washington?
Yeah, Camas went in. The AP poll had them ranked 4th. Skyview, again, tough loss week 1 at home to Sherwood. You guys are familiar with Sherwood. And then they lost to Coeur d'Alene out of Idaho, the only loss Coeur d'Alene's had in the last couple of years has been last year when they played Skyview. I saw them play. That's a really good team. So they have 2 losses to 2 of the better teams in other states, or else they would be a top 10 team in state also. But both of those are really good teams. It's just, it's 10-10 at halftime, and Skyview just scored touchdowns on their first 3 possessions of the second half. And Parker Henry, who's their running back, ended up having 177 yards rushing on the game, 2 touchdowns. Zach Eagle for Camas was in the second half. Looked like they picked up, they picked up big gain on the pass play, and Parker Henry ran down a receiver for Camas and got him to strip the ball out at the 5-yard line, which they recovered to kind of squelch that and preserve the win. So it was, just a great game, packed house at Kiggins. It was a lot of fun Friday.
Union dominates Kelso 42-zip. Tough year so far for Fort Vancouver. Prairie 70-0. I know the numbers at Fort Vancouver are down, right? They don't have a lot of players.
Yeah, the numbers have been down for a while. Again, there's a lot of dynamic in the Vancouver School District just as far as the sizes of the schools. Fort Vancouver and Hudson's Bay are 2 of the smaller 3A schools in the state, and then kids can choose where they go to school. The thing about that 70-0 score that people, again, in our state, after a halftime, once you're up by 40, they don't stop the clock. So you throw in complete pass, clock keeps running. They only stop it if you score a touchdown, basically. But Prairie actually, they had their starters only played the first quarter. They had 9 different kids score touchdowns. Every person on that Prairie sideline that suited played in the game. They did their best. And Prairie's a passing team, and they ran for 3/4 of their yards against Fort Vancouver and still won 70-0.
So what does that mean? It means, Brian, that there's, don't they have to look at a situation where a school's football team is not even competitive? And I know it's a tough situation to talk about, but, what can they do to help Fort Vancouver become competitive? Because obviously they're not.
I think, what they have in place, I don't know. They don't do a lot to help them. Eric Olakainen has taken over. I think he's a really good coach. He played at Fort Vancouver back when they were good in the mid-'90s. He's changed some stuff up at the school. They had been running a lot of double wing stuff, which wasn't that successful. Some of the kids didn't want to come play in that. When you're running a double wing and you're not good, it's not a lot of fun. If you're Bellevue or like a wing team like Sherwood, you put up with it because you're winning. But they switched their offense and they're getting some more kids to come out. It takes time. I think they'll get out of this. It's just this is just a bad year for them as some of the 3A schools like Mountain View and Prairie. The thing with Prairie has so many speed guys, but when they match up with teams that have strong interior lines, they get, they don't win that battle. But if they can play another team that doesn't have a strong offensive line or defensive line like of Fort Vancouver, their speed will just dominate other people, and that's what ended up happening Friday night.
Bryan Levesque, our guest with GSHL.com, football.com, pardon me. Now, Prairie's at Camas this week. Is that the situation you were talking about where Camas can slow them down?
Well, Camas can slow them down. Prairie's obviously not going to put up 70. They won't shut them down. Prairie will put up points. This game, I think it'll be a very interesting game. Camas has won this game the last few years that they've played, but that was with this same group of kids that they have now when they were younger. So I think Prairie's going to put up a pretty big fight. But the difference in this game is obviously Camas a lot better than Fort Vancouver. But it goes back to kind of like when Prairie played Mountain View a couple weeks ago. Is Mountain View is really strong on the offense and defensive line, and that again Camas is that. So Prairie, has had a couple weeks to work on that. So if they can shore up their line and give Colin Seitz, who's one of the top passers in the state as far as yards, they can give him time to throw the ball. Prairie has the receivers in Ansel Cecil, Tyler Villa, and Jesse Zolk. I mean, they just keep coming off the bench, these kids that can run and catch the ball. But Seitz needs time to throw it, and that's what he might not have at Camas Friday.
Friday night, the game on 1550, KKOV, the Talk of Vancouver. What game are you going to feature this week?
Well, there's a doubleheader again.
There is, okay.
The first one is actually Grant High School out of Portland's coming up with Paris Penn and his boys, and they're playing Heritage, who's struggling a little bit right now. So, but Heritage likes to throw the ball. Elon Max leading the 4A Greater St. Helens League in receiving, and Joey Cooper's doing pretty good throwing the ball around. But I saw Grant play Skyview down at the Oregon State team camp. We go down there every spring with them. And Grant went toe-to-toe with Skyview throughout that whole camp, and Skyview beat Heritage 49-7. So Heritage is going to have to bring their A game to slow down Paris Penn and that Grant team. And then the second game is going to be last week was one of our biggest games of the year was the Skyview Camas. This one, another one of our top 3 or 4 games of the year to watch. You definitely want to tune in if you can't make it to the game. Would be Mountain View and Union. And so it's only the second time they've played. Last year, everybody assumed Union would just roll Mountain View because they had been beating everybody like 40-0. They ended up beating Mountain View 10-0 in a game that Union got a long pass. Caven Humphrey Butler, still their quarterback, threw a 50-yard touchdown pass to Ray Burney, who's actually at Jefferson High School right now. But it was just a really close, if you want hard-nosed, smash-mouth hitting football, this is going to be your game. And it's, I don't know who's going to win this one. It's going to be a really good game.
Hey, Brian, appreciate it. Your visit tonight here on AM 860. Good stuff, and we'll talk to you again later in the week.
All right, thanks for having me on, Ron.
Bryan Levesque, GSHLFootball.com. Check out the website. It goes way beyond most high school websites, and congratulations to Brian.